Oh yeah, I've been waiting for this. I've been waiting for this. Welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be doing a recap on the Optimum Classic. So now that I'm back here in town, the dust has settled. I've come back down to earth a little bit. I just want to break down how cool this experience has been. So just a few weeks ago, competed at the Pittsburgh Pro, didn't place. And now fast forward, we're a week removed from the Optimum Classic. The result of the Optimum Classic, I was able to secure my third IFBB Pro Classic Physique Championship win, which I am floored about. This makes me so excited for the future. It helps to validate some of the things that I was really working on throughout this contest prep season. You might have caught on to this from my last few videos, but I was coaching myself throughout this entire contest prep up until this point. And so there was a part of me that wanted to know if I had the capacity, the ability to navigate myself successfully through contest prep and be able to secure a win as a professional bodybuilder. And it's safe to say that I was able to do just that over this past weekend. And so I'm super excited as a coach that I was able to navigate my peak week successfully after coming off of Pittsburgh. I took the insights that really were culminating up to a really great peak. I just missed my window and then did not bring the look that I ideally wanted to bring to the stage for Pittsburgh. And then on top of that, I knew my conditioning wasn't where it needed to be. There was just a different level of conditioning that I just did not have to bring to that show. And so from the Pittsburgh Pro to the Optimum Classic, there was 13 days in between shows. And honestly, I wasn't able to get back on plan until Tuesday when I got back in town. The show was on Sunday for the Pittsburgh Pro. I got back on plan officially on Tuesday. So really, I had 11 days to bring a better look to the stage. And honestly, that whole time couldn't be just me doing a bunch of cardio because I have to be able to drop that fatigue to get ready for another peak. And so really, I had Tuesday to get where I needed to be conditioning wise, at least as much as I could. So in 7 days, I did everything that I could to try and make as much progress as possible. And so I did a video on this on my Instagram, but just to break down just some of what transpired in that week to really be able to pull off a noticeably better look in really less than 10 days. The first thing that I did, I reduced my food uncomfortably low. It was already uncomfortable when I was getting ready for the Pittsburgh Pro, but now I lowered my food to a place where basically I had no carbs in my diet and little to no fats. My calories overall were around 1,900 per day. I think on the lower end, it was around 1,800. On the higher end, it was like 1,950. And that was my daily calorie intake as soon as I got back in town after the Pittsburgh Pro. And so that was a 500 calorie reduction in my daily intake. So basically I was having about 1,200 calories per day coming from protein. And then the rest was carbs and fats. So there was little to no actual energy substrates. It was just a bunch of protein, veggies, and fruit. And beyond the dietary changes, as far as cardio is concerned, I went from 4 cardio sessions per week on the stair mill with a 400 calorie expenditure target. And I increased that to a total of 1 hour on the stair mill, which equated out to about 700 to 800 calories on the stair mill being expended every day. So there was no rest days during this time. I reduced my food by about 500 calories. I more than doubled what my cardio looked like. I added in MOTS-C and NAD. So MOTS-C is a mitochondrial peptide that improves fatty acid transport oxidation, mitophagy, so the elimination of poor performing mitochondria. And so this really helped for me to just perform better, to have energy when really I didn't have any food that was providing me the energy that I needed. And it helped me to get through some of the workouts. I increased my retatrutide up to 2 milligrams, which is not a large amount, but really, I didn't want to make any drastic changes with the retatrutide because it does affect GI motility and it can cause some digestive issues if you ramp up dosage too much. So I really have been using retatrutide more for the appetite suppression and then some of the increased metabolic benefits that come from the glucagon receptor agonist that the retatrutide offers. So on one side, it's helping me burn more calories, but then it's also helping with my appetite, because this prep, my hunger has been higher than ever before. And so like that was just a new problem that I dealt with this prep. And honestly, I guess this is a good time to get into like just some of the turbulence that happened with this prep that I was able to navigate successfully and be able to come out with a win and get some points on the board for the Olympia qualification. So the rest of this video, I'm just going to explain some of the obstacles I had to work through to get to this point, but then also I'm going to just talk to you about what the game plan is moving forward as we continue the road to the Olympia series here, because we're not done yet. So I'm going to break down the details so that you know what's on the horizon here. But just backing up, before I started this contest prep, I was coming off of a health phase that was about 6 months long. That health phase was to help heal my rotator cuff tear. I had a partially torn rotator cuff that happened about a year ago to date. And it took about 4 full months for my rotator cuff to heal with the help of some peptide intervention. So I used TB500, KPV, and BPC157 to heal my rotator cuff. And I ran a gut health protocol right alongside that to address some of the underlying inflammatory issues that I was dealing with and gut distension problems. So I was addressing these two things at once through this health phase. Prior to that health phase, I was in more so kind of like a growing phase that was unenhanced. And that was basically a decision that I made based on where my blood work was at. I didn't feel comfortable getting into an enhanced growth phase. So I focused on putting on lean muscle mass at a slower pace than I would have ideally liked to. So my off season, like I had not been using PEDs. So like the off season itself, it wasn't a dramatic opportunity to put on a lot of lean muscle mass. And so when we factor this all in, I had an off season that was not as ideal as I would have liked it to be as far as how much muscle I could have put on. And honestly, it was just for health reasons. I just did not want to agitate my health markers because I already didn't really like where things were at. I have genetically high cholesterol and my liver enzymes were elevated, and I wasn't able to get them down. And so I didn't want to make that issue worse. So I just focused on what I could do lifestyle-wise to build lean muscle mass. And then from there, went into the gut health phase while I'm working on healing my rotator cuff. So that was a 6-month process. And I bridged that health phase into the contest prep. And that contest prep was abbreviated. So it took me 14 weeks to get ready for the Optimum Classic, which means it took 12 weeks for me to get ready for the Pittsburgh Pro. Hence why my conditioning probably wasn't where it needed to be. Fortunately, the conditioning that I brought to the Optimum Classic was enough to get the job done. But if I am being critical with myself, my conditioning was still not where it needed to be. Fortunately, my shape, the amount of size that I now hold, and my posing presentation were sufficient to secure the win this past weekend. But if I was in a larger, more competitive show, I don't think I would have fared as well as I did at the Optimum Classic. It was a smaller show. And so as much as I am very happy with the outcome, I know there's still improvements that need to be done. And the biggest one and the most controllable one is my conditioning. And so I've been very critical with myself ever since the Pittsburgh Pro when it comes to my conditioning. And honestly, even before that, like I knew my conditioning needed to improve. This leads me to the next problem that I was dealing with throughout this contest prep. When I inevitably started to ramp things up, there were certain compounds that I had incorporated that I thought was one thing, and it ended up being another thing, which then led to excessive levels of water retention. I started this contest prep at around 210 pounds. And by the time I got to week 7 of this contest prep, I was up to 228 pounds. Granted, I'm getting leaner throughout this process, but the scale keeps climbing. And so I'm up 18 pounds over the course of this contest prep, which I've never experienced before. I've done enhanced preps before where my weight stays virtually the same and my physique just gets better and better as I lose body fat and I'm gradually building lean muscle mass. But this was very unusual. My strength was really high. My performance was really high. And so I'm holding a lot of water. And it got to the point where I was having trouble controlling my midsection. Like it's affecting my posing. And so I'm thinking this is a fatigue problem when really it was an androgen problem. And so I caught this right around week 7. And then I pulled out that compound and I added in a separate compound, an oral compound. And I'm purposely keeping this vague just because like like if you want to ask me more personally about this stuff, I can. I just don't want to disclose like real raw specifics because I don't want this to be prescriptive. But like I'm willing to be transparent with individuals if they're really curious about it. But just for general YouTube, I'm just trying to keep it a little bit more vague. So I pulled out this misleading compound and I incorporated an oral compound that did not aromatize at all. And so this helped to strip off a lot of the water that was going on. And so in a 2-week span, I dropped about 10, 12 pounds. And so now I'm under my weight cap. Things are looking really sharp. I should say up until this point, it was really hard to discern where my conditioning level really was at because I was holding so much water. And so I'm doing what I can to make sure that visually I'm making forward progress, but I wasn't able to discern if the rate of progress was fast enough. And so naturally, I just kept making adjustments to make sure that I was improving. And then we get close enough to the show where now I'm just trying to get under the weight cap. I'm just trying to get this water off because like that's going to sharpen up my physique and I want to see where I'm actually at. And so a few weeks out from the show, this water finally starts to come off. And at this point, I'm running out of time to really fix my conditioning. And that's what really brought me to the Pittsburgh Pro, where all that water started to come off, but now I'm realizing I have more room to get conditioned. And so I could only do so much in the time frame that I had allowed for. The other difficult variable with this prep up until this point, beyond me coaching myself, beyond recovering from a recent rotator cuff tear, beyond some of the compounds that I was using being faulty and then having to course correct and improvise in the midst of a short and condensed contest prep period. The other difficult dynamic was just managing business, family life, and church life while all of this is going on. I'm spending 90 plus minutes a day doing cardio, and whether that be steps, stair mill, or a combination of the two. And then I'm training 5 days per week. I got to get my 8 hours of sleep. I got to be a present husband as best as I can and serve my wife and my baby daughter. And I'm also trying to make sure that all my meals are prepped, dishes are done, clients are taken care of. And so it started to become a lot. And so I'm getting kind of burnt out on the back end of this. And so there was a part of me that thought like, man, I really can't push that much more. And it wasn't until Pittsburgh where I realized that I am not where I should be in order to be really, truly competitive. And it wasn't that I was lacking the size or the shape, the symmetry, the posing. I was lacking conditioning. And that was enough to keep me out of the top 10, where I was just like, man, I already committed to the Optimum Classic. I got to try and make this work. And so that was that condensed period of time where I was pulling a lot of different levers to make sure that I could bring a sharper look to the stage. And it worked. We did what we needed to do to come away with first place. Now that the Optimum Classic is over with, I've reassessed what needs to happen in order for me to qualify for the Olympia in 2026. That's what this whole series has been about since this time last year. Like I started the Road to the Olympia series in the middle of 2025. Some people thought that was audacious. Some people thought I was being cocky, delusional, because like how am I supposed to know if I'm going to make it to the Olympia this next year? The division's changed a lot. It's way more competitive than it used to be. And the answer to that question is faith. I believe in my capacity to make this happen. I know that God positioned me for this, to excel in this sport. And I want to give all glory and honor to God. I made that a point in my victory speech at the Optimum Classic. I'll actually share that video here.
Well, congratulations, my man. You look phenomenal. I think the judges Angeles and at Shreveport Bossier would agree. So one, what drew you to do the Optimum Classic today?
So I did the Pittsburgh Pro a couple weeks ago, and I was not happy with how I finished. I knew that I did not do the best that I could, so I took the 2 weeks, really crunched down. I made some improvements to make sure that I could bring a better look here to the Optimum Classic. This was a 4-hour drive for me. I'm from Texas, originally from Wisconsin. Moved to Texas with my family recently, but Texas, amen, brother. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity to bring my wife, my daughter here, so they could see me back on stage again after a 5-year hiatus, recovering from a rotator cuff tear. There was a lot of complications. This is my first time being a dad, competing, and so it added a little extra dynamic to things on top of the recovery, trying to keep Christ at the center while I'm doing this. This is a very vain sport, and so I didn't want to lose sight on my faith throughout this process. And so as much as I got to give credit to my wife and my family and my supporters, I got to give the most glory and honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you for all your grace, all your mercy. And if nothing else, don't look at me. Look at Christ, who finished the work on the cross.
Amen.
That's what really matters. This award's great. I'm privileged and honored. But man, there's a bigger trophy, there's a bigger crown in heaven for all those who repent and believe in the gospel.
Well, I think you have definitely redeemed yourself from Pittsburgh. You look phenomenal. Congratulations and an early Father's Day to you as it's coming up in a few weeks. And I hope to see you on that Olympia stage coming up. So congratulations. Give it up for your classic physique winner, Jordan Plantico.
Now getting on the other side of that, it's all about what needs to happen now to make sure I secure a spot for the 2026 Mr. Olympia. Because I got 10 points from winning the Optimum Classic, which puts me in a 14-way tie for being in the top 22 in the world for the Olympia qualification. There's still quite a few shows left before the August 31st cutoff date. And so I got to get out of this 14-way tie that I have with a bunch of other champions that have won a singular pro show this year. And so the focus now is to take a brief break and drop fatigue, drop stress, increase food very briefly, which is what I've been doing this whole last week. It's been very nice to not do a bunch of cardio. It's been very nice to have higher levels of food and to not be so hungry and tired all the time. But now I'm going to be re-engaging, getting back into contest prep because we have 3, potentially 4 more shows that we're going to plan to hit this year. I'm going to lay them out here in this video because I don't see a reason to hide my intentions at this point because we're going for it. So the first 2 shows that are going to secure my spot for the Olympia this year, the Texas Pro and the Houston Pro. The Texas Pro is in the middle of August. The Houston Pro is at the very end of August, August 30th, the day before the cutoff. So these 2 shows are going to give me the points that I need to secure my qualification for the Olympia. The 3rd show I'm planning on doing is 2 weeks after the Houston Pro, and that's the San Antonio Pro. All 3 of these shows are here in Texas, and so this is in my own backyard. The Houston Pro is going to be 30 minutes from me, but the Texas Pro and the San Antonio, they're within driving distance for me. So logistically, it makes things a lot more feasible. So literally there's 2 weeks in between each of these shows. Texas Pro, Houston Pro, San Antonio Pro, and then 2 weeks after the San Antonio Pro is the 2026 Olympia. The first 2 shows will give me the points that I need to get to the Olympia. The San Antonio Pro is going to set me up to get some points for next year's Olympia, so I don't have to start from 0. And then we're going to compete at the Olympia and see if we can't crack the top 10. So this gives me a long enough runway to bring the conditioning that I need to bring my best look to the stage. Because the physique that I brought to the Optimum Classic, although it was sufficient to win that show, it is not going to be sufficient to beat some of the best athletes in the world. And it's not going to give me a fair assessment of where I stand until I can get down to the conditioning level that a lot of these great athletes have gotten themselves to. And that is what was revealed to me at the Pittsburgh Pro. There is a level of conditioning that I have yet to tap into that I need to get to. And by doing so, I really think that I can be one of the best in the world simply by bringing the best level of conditioning that I've ever have to the stage. So that's the goal. Secure my spot for the Olympia by doing these next 2 shows, which I'm basically 8 and 10 weeks out. And then San Antonio Pro, which is going to help set me up for the next year's Olympia qualification. And then we're going to compete in the Olympia 2026, God willing. So that's the plan as it stands right now. 4 total shows. It might be subject to change. It might only be 3 of the 4 shows that we end up doing. The San Antonio Pro is the one that I think is probably the most optional. But as it stands right now, it's looking like those 4 shows. And last but not least, in order to make sure that I am able to bring my best look to the stage, I have rehired my former coach, Mark Tominick, to help me accomplish this. As much as I have been able to succeed on my own without a coach, I know that I can be even better with a coach. And that's something that's always been true. You're always going to be better off with a coach than without, especially when it's the right coach. And Mark is the right coach for me. He's a man of integrity. He is a very competent bodybuilding coach. There was just a part of me that was very curious about how I could do navigating myself through bodybuilding contest prep from start to finish. And I'm very happy with my ability to navigate myself through this and stay objective and to put out these crazy fires and to deal with all the problems that come up throughout a contest prep and be able to still keep my head. So I'm proud of my ability to navigate myself successfully and to win a pro show on my own without anybody else's help except my family that was supporting me the whole time, and then the Lord who was guiding me and keeping me steady throughout this entire process. And now it's about setting myself up for maximum success for the rest of this season. In order to do that, I'm going to need some help. So I've hired Mark Tominick to help me with that and basically grab the reins, and we're going to collaboratively navigate me through these next several shows. And I think it will result in my best look to date, without a doubt. And we will see how we fare with some of the best in the world. So that's where we're at right now. I have about 2.5 weeks until I do a guest posing appearance at the Brew City in my hometown in Wisconsin. So before I moved down to Texas, I was living in Waukesha. And so I'm going to be going back to the Waukesha Expo Center to guest pose at the Brew City at the end of June. So I'm going to be able to see some of my hometown friends. It's going to be a really fun time. I'm going to be able to do my posing routine that ended up getting cut short at the Optimum Classic. That was like, they only let us do a minute for our routine. It was so sad. And that was probably my least favorite thing about the Optimum Classic. I thought the show ran really well. The promoter was awesome. They treated their athletes really well. It's just, I don't know why they cut our posing routine short, especially because it wasn't the biggest show. There was plenty of time to allow us to do our posing routines, and we only got to do a minute of it. And so I'm really excited to bring my posing routine to the Brew City and show everybody what I've been working on. And so I'm excited to get back into this contest prep, visit some of my friends and family back home in Wisconsin, guest pose, and be able to fully present my posing routine that I wasn't able to do at the Optimum Classic, and then continue to chip away as we get ready for the Texas Pro, the Houston Pro, the San Antonio Pro, and the 2026 Olympia. And so that's where we're at. I really appreciate you guys for following along in this journey so far. Hopefully you're starting to see that I am not all talk, and that when I say this is the road to the Olympia 2026, that I am serious about this. I am positioning myself to be able to do exactly that. And it's all by faith. I believed at the beginning of 2025 that I could do this. It was the middle of 2025. I decided to launch this series, Road to the Olympia 2026. And all the chaos and craziness that's happened throughout this process has not veered me off of this goal. We are making it to the 2026 Mr. Olympia competition. And I'm so excited that you guys are here navigating with me through this process. So that's it for this video. I will see you in the next episode of the Road to the Olympia 2026. I'll talk to you soon.